Hey students, this is where we get into the nuts and bolts of how to get the overall literary context of the book. Um, I'll start with the paragraph titles and then tell you how to create a visual book overview or horizontal. Well, the paragraph titles are an exercise where you summarize the message of every paragraph so that you understand or comprehend the book in a little more detail. You've already read the book from the beginning to the end, and you made a guess about the main idea. Paragraph titles are now in detail, and then you use those in order to create your visual book overview to figure out the logic or message of the entire book. So you group and then you title or encapsulate those paragraph titles into bigger and bigger levels of comprehension until you've got the whole book organized in your mind. It's really an excellent exercise for anyone who wants to learn how to read properly. So the paragraph titles plus the horizontal will give you the big picture message of the book, or what we're calling the literary content. Here's how they work. The paragraph titles are a small tool to increase reading comprehension, so there's some rules. You use 4 words from the text only. You use the words in order in that paragraph, and they don't have to be next to each other at all, actually. But here's the big dog. They need to capture the meaning of the paragraph. So not just any words, but the words that wrap up the message of that paragraph. And if you don't do this, it's a useless exercise. So let's do some examples. These are 2 paragraphs from the letter to Philemon. And here's the first example. I just picked 4 words, and they're from the text, and they're in order, but they don't capture the meaning of the paragraph. What does accordingly though I am mean? It's silly. It actually carries no meaning to it, so let's burn it up and try another one. So this next one I like a lot. It's my favorite one. And it's 4 words. Appeal for child Onesimus. Now they're not exactly next to each other, but they're in order, and they capture the meaning of the paragraph. There's really 2 main messages in this paragraph. One is that it's an appeal, and the second one is that something has changed in Onesimus' life. And so I like this one. He's become a child of Paul. But that, my friends, is not the gospel. You may have a different paragraph title, and that's the beauty of the technique. It's just you learning how to read and using your creativity to summarize the message. Try this one. 4 words from the text. Yep. In order. Yep. And do they capture the meaning of the paragraph? Actually, it's pretty good. This is a B level. I give you a B for this one. Love's sake, prefer appeal. It's got the appeal in there, and it's got the love's sake thing, which is kind of like what happened with Onesimus. It kind of points at it. Not bad at all. Well, listen, even that one, you don't have to do it from the top of the paragraph either. You can get one from the bottom of the paragraph, such as this one. This one is no longer slave equals brother. Well, that's pretty good. This is the details about what happened to Onesimus, but what's missing is the appeal. So I might say, hey, I might call this a C level paragraph title. Not bad. And this is the process, my friend. I'm going to start on the first one. I like that one the best. And then I'll just move on to the next paragraph. And it'll become really natural to you, even as you're reading for the first time, is what I find in my experience. So the second paragraph, chapter 1, verse 17, it starts with that. Then I pick 4 words, receive him as me. And I think that summarizes the paragraph as a whole, because there's 2 parts. A command to receive him, Onesimus, but also something about Onesimus has made him the same as Paul and the same as Philemon. So I think this is a nice, thorough paragraph title. And then you just go so on and so on through the entire book. Well, what do you do with those? I showed you on the previous overview that the next step is the visual book overview. Here's how you use your paragraph titles. You print them out physically. You tape them together. And what you should find out is your paragraph title should tell a story. You should be able to start at the beginning and read through your paragraph titles and feel like you understand the book so much better. It should sound like you're reading the book itself. You jump up and down, and then you skip off and buy a Frappuccino at Starbucks. Well, what do you do with that? We're going to teach you how to do this, and it takes some practice. But the first thing you do is you read through your paragraph titles and your book and the book of the Bible you're studying. You look for transition words and ideas at the beginning of every paragraph and chapter, and we'll show you these. We've given them to you on the elephant sheet. It's usually a logical connective or time or geography. They're super helpful to see when the author is changing subjects. And then there's another level of analysis we're going to teach you. You have a handout for this. It's been laminated by your wonderful staff. We're going to teach you that there are 7 types of structure that authors use, authors of any book. And there are 14 laws of composition, and what that means is an author is thinking about the best way to communicate his or her message. And we just teach you those, and you look for them as you go through the book. So you go through the PTs and you realize, you see that little blue line down there? You realize something changed. You just make a mark. You read through the Bible in your paragraph title again, and all of a sudden you see a big transition word. Everything has changed. And there's actually 2 more, so that you have broken up the book into 5 parts. At that point, you realize, you know what? This middle section is actually the change of the entire book. The first part of the book is totally different from the second part, and you make what we call a big break. So the blue marks are the small breaks, and the red mark is a big break. You could have 2 big breaks, or sometimes even 3, but not more than that. Well, what do you do with that? Here's what you do. You draw a big old graph, the lowest level being your paragraph title. Then you summarize in a little title, wrap up all those paragraph titles in one of the 5 boxes above them. You go through each of those and you write a title, and then you make it even bigger. The biggest 2 breaks, you want to write a title in each of those that summarizes the titles below it. So the first half of the book would have a title, and it would summarize the 2 titles below it. The last half of the book would have its own title that summarizes the last 3 parts of the book. It's an amazing exercise for your brain. So on Monday afternoon, you bring in your draft drawing. You show us your process and your titles and all that kind of stuff. And then we help you create a complete visual book overview. You can draw it by hand. You can use your computer to do it. And you fill everything in nice and neat with titles and book title itself, and then your main idea. My friends, if you just did this, your literary studies would absolutely be revolutionized, and you would just kill college. You would just kill it with this basic step. But we don't stop there. We use this literary context to help us study the details of the text. And here's how it works, my friends. That first section of the 5 you made is actually your first chart. And it helps you keep that chart in literary context. You can be super confident that as you go through every chapter of the book, you're in literary context. You know when you do the middle chart of the book, you know what part of the logic of the overall book is involved. And you can always go back to your visual book overview just to make sure you've been staying in context. Super cool exercise and very, very helpful. We're going to do these in class for Philemon and for Ephesians, so you can practice doing this. And eventually, again, you will know exactly how to develop the literary context of the book.